July 1st was the 4-year anniversary of my sister passing. And while the situation kind of, it hits you, like a big wave, because I had read everything that I did, I was able to make a conscious decision to surrender to life, surrender to the universe, and to trust that whatever was unfolding in front of me was ultimately okay. And I immediately began to receive back this knowing and these signals and these signs and this guidance that did tell me that everything was okay and that I was supposed to use this experience.
All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of the Academy of Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host Hugh, and normally I would have my co-host here, but he's not able to meet with us, and so that's an unfortunate news. But I do have Eric here. He is a holistic coach and many other things, and so I'm going to let him to introduce himself.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Eric Bauberger. I'm a holistic life coach and what I call a motivational singer-songwriter. I like to really remove the divider in myself between coach and musician, and everything that I do now is just the result of me tuning into the deepest part of myself, which I see in everyone else as an artist, as a creative, as someone who's very free and capable and has the world at their fingertips. So I think that about sums it up.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so thank you, Eric, for coming to our show and letting us know about the holistic coach and all your careers and all those fun stuff. Before we get into know more about you, I just wanted to know more about holistic coaching. What's kind of the purpose of holistic coaching?
For me, being holistic means looking at the entire human. So I think when people think of life coaching, they think they're just going to be told what habits they should do and kind of how to organize their life in such a way that it works for them. But it's really a matter of understanding the inseparability between what we think, what we feel, and what we do. And when working with people holistically, I need to be open to all parts of this person and be able to guide them to get clear with who they are and who they want to be and what they really want in life. Um, I've been a personal trainer for some time, and a lot of people have different health goals, of course, regarding weight, regarding strength, regarding eating habits. And I've witnessed just focusing on those physical external things being either too difficult to maintain or just very short lived, and I guess that's the same thing, or just unable to get through a certain block or past a certain point. So to really help people understand what it is that they're trying to get out of this goal, what's the value that they have, what is the deeper desire that they have, and what limiting beliefs are keeping them from getting there now, or what are the internal dynamics at play with the habits at hand.
Absolutely. So you have been in so many careers, going from personal trainers and musicians, and now a holistic coach. Impressive. What's the backstory of holistic coaching? Where does it start, or how did it start?
It's funny that I hear a question like that often, and there's so many layers to the story, and each time I tell it, I try to make it simpler and simpler just to really, extract the golden nuggets from it. But basically, I was an athlete in high school. As a kid, I was very, very physical, always testing my strength and my balance. And competing in wrestling led to a lot of injuries. It led to a lot of dysfunctional eating, a lot of dysfunctional patterns in me that I had to learn to heal from. That motivated me to go to school to become a physical therapist, which I kind of went part of the way through. I got a bachelor's in exercise science and started to work in that field. And while it was brilliant in helping me understand how to align my body and be really functional in the way that I move, which helped me heal coming from a dysfunctional way of overtraining. I eventually reached a point where I felt limited in the way that I was helping, or the way that I was planning to help people. I knew that nutrition was really important. I knew that mindset was really important because I had a lot of anxiety up to that point and a lot of performance anxiety with wrestling. I always, and even with being a musician, always didn't perform to the best of my ability because of where my mind was. It was always in the future, always anticipating, always getting in the way. And that led me to thinking, oh, if I become a personal trainer, I could help people eat in a way that I think makes sense based on my studies and what I was continuing to learn, and as well as cue people on different ways of thinking, even though that was kind of in the background. And again, that was a limiting experience. I was only helping people a small amount of what I thought was possible. And all along, I had been reading about the mind, and I started meditating, and I started learning about consciousness and this idea of the ego, or the part of us that identifies with, with physical things and the material world. And that just led me down my own path of personal development, of looking inward for what I really wanted. And, slowly but surely, I was able to realize I could coach people in this way and I could tie it all together.
Definitely amazing. And so, being a holistic coach, what would you say is your life motto?
This is going to sound so cheesy, but like, just be yourself. Don't try to be and because not that I, not that I was personally trying to be somebody else, but I was always pushing myself to be more than I was. And I
Okay.
kind of lost my own. I always had an expectation of what I was supposed to be doing and who I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to accomplish. And that got in the way of my own natural rhythm, which was guiding me to where I wanted to be all along. The body's very intelligent in its emotions. The things that we feel are always signals to the deeper parts of ourselves. So I needed to learn how to be myself in order to be most happy, to be most healthy, to be most creative, and to be most of service within any job that I did. I needed to really learn who I was beneath all the form.
Okay. So, I guess you would agree with the phrase, only you are in charge of your happiness.
Yes, you create your reality. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. So, being a holistic coach, I'm going to ask a couple things. Do you regret getting into this field? Because I know sometimes when people like myself get into different fields, at first we think, oh, it'll be good for me, it'll be good down the road, or this is what I've been thinking of doing. But then once we get into it, it's kind of a different thing.
That's a great question because I think people often believe that they could or should have done something differently, and maybe like realizing that they want to be whatever it is they are now, and like, oh, if only I realized that sooner. I don't think that we could really separate time and events in that way. I think that everything that I did, 4 years in school, that really annihilated my well-being. Being a college student just destroyed me, and working after that and hustling as a trainer, I think I needed to go through all that to get to this point exactly as I am now. My awareness of the body, my awareness of my own mind, and all of my ups and downs along the way very creatively brought me to this point, which is a very unique point in time from a very unique perspective. I don't think I could shed any of that away and be more than I am now. I think it was all a requirement to get here. It was in the curriculum, so to speak.
So, were there a lot of, or a big kind of mind shift from going from personal trainer to musician and now a holistic coach?
Well, I had always been a musician from a young age. I was singing. I got my first guitar when I was 7. So that was something that I kind of always kept in the background, but never fully embraced or embodied or identified with. I was always
Okay.
more of a wrestler than I was a guitar player. I was more of a student than I was. And that was something that grew all along, but it was something that helped me along the way tune into myself, express my emotions, gain clarity, and be my true self, which certainly comes through when I write a song, even if it's, with the intent of having a certain genre and feel of something that I've heard and loved before. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but the mindset absolutely changed in
Yeah,
that
no, it did. Absolutely.
yeah, it went from being identified with my ego. It was, oh, I was captain of the wrestling team. I got to be a winner. Like, oh, I'm a student. I got to be an A student. Oh, I want to get a doctorate in something. It's like this, and all these things were constantly in front of me that I was reaching towards. And the more that I learned that this moment contained the feeling that I really wanted, which was just to feel like enough. Only this moment serves as the conduit to that wholeness that we all seek and know in different ways, but it seems so fleeting. I needed to realize that everything I wanted and needed was already here. And the more that I nurtured myself in a moment and was present with myself in the moment, the more I could evolve to become just a more expanded version of myself, not a better version, but just like a flower that, has varying stages of blossoming. I want to be fully blossomed.
Gotcha.
And yes, and shifting that mindset and the lens through which I view a moment and the future and the past even is what allowed me to kind of shed anything keeping me from living as I am now.
Okay. Then would you say for someone to go into this holistic coaching field or career, is it more textbook or is it more life experience that kind of steer you into this career? Not you specifically, but in general.
Both. Absolutely both. The first book that I read that began to shift my awareness was called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, and he's also written A New Earth, which also was pretty popular,
Okay.
if not as popular.
I might have to take a look.
Yeah, yeah. I think Oprah has had him on her show or has worked with him in a couple ways to
Wow.
promote that way of thinking, which really it stems from Buddhism, it stems from Taoism, it stems from all the religions in the sense that of they all contain within them a certain truth or they point to something in reality, and it all points back to finding that which you're looking for within yourself. And and using the present moment, so many things like really just point to this now moment and point to you as the source of your whole experience. So again, diving into that book and then just being so excited with what it was giving me or what it was allowing me to access within myself led to book after book, but then it certainly led to applying those philosophies or those teachings, those practicings in real life, and just maintaining the idea of surrender for me was huge. It allowed me to process a tragic experience on the surface as something very beautiful. In 2018, actually, July 1st was the 4-year anniversary of my sister passing. And while the situation kind of, it hits you, like a big wave, because I had read everything that I did, I was able to make a conscious decision to surrender to life, surrender to the universe, and to trust that whatever was unfolding in front of me was ultimately okay. And I immediately began to receive back this knowing and these signals and these signs and this guidance that did tell me that everything was okay and that I was supposed to use this experience, use it in my music, use this awareness of surrendering in order to heal and to move beyond grief and all those other emotions present during that time. So I needed to read and to understand, but then I needed this crazy life experience to practice it, to realize this is legitimate wisdom that can be applied to life. And perhaps and while I just thought I could tell people everything I knew about what I read and about what I experienced, ultimately I needed to learn that there was an art to coaching. It's an art of conversation. It's learning how to dance with another human being and meeting them where they are so that you could guide them to lead themselves. And like for me, a book was able to really guide me, but once I was being mentored myself, I was really able to then create those bigger outer shifts along with the inner shifts.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing going through what you went through with your sister's passing, and my condolences to you and your family. Um,
Thank you.
I know a lot of people did or have not looked into themselves holistically, maybe in a certain aspect, but I guess going through all the experiences kind of will maybe potentially help them in seeing a
Mhm.
different aspect of life. Now, what is your favorite quote?
I'm going to give you two really short quotes that go hand in hand, but one of them is the title of a collection of essays by a spiritual entertainer and philosopher named Alan Watts. It's called This Is It, meaning like everything that you're looking for, whether you're looking for that state of nirvana, that state of bliss, that state of expanded consciousness, or whatever it is, this moment is that. This is it. You are that which you seek, and it's all right here, right now. And um, congruent to that is a quote by Ram Dass, which goes, "This too." So even when something is contradicting you or opposing you or seeming to be of an uncomfortable contrast in your life, that too is a reflection of you, and that too is there to serve you and to guide you and to teach you. All of the things, our thoughts, our emotions, our habits, the people, the places, the chance encounters, all of it is it that you can use to your greatest advantage.
Well, that's probably two of the greatest or the best quotes that I've heard when it comes to maybe a holistic coaching or a holistic point of view. And they do make sense. Like you mentioned before, they go hand in hand too.
Yes.
Now, with I guess with being an holistic coach or maybe some coaching in general, what are there any skeptics or any kind of I'm just gonna use the word skeptic onto the career itself or how it works?
I haven't personally I haven't been personally confronted by a skeptic, but there's definitely times when I talk to people, when you're speaking about things theoretically, they have a hard time understanding that they're creating a lot of their suffering. It's hard for people to, like, especially when when someone has like a crappy boss, or something at work, or like all these physical things that are happening, and they feel like the victim to those things. Sometimes it's really hard to pull ourselves out of that role that we've identified with and see how, not that we need to let this person be rude to us or let that thing be not how we want it, but to recognize that the way that we're looking at it, the lens through which we look at anything, is colored by our perception, by our beliefs, and what we believe immediately creates what we feel, and how we feel immediately creates our habits. So that person stuck doing that job, working with that person that they don't like, they're ultimately doing it to themselves to a degree. And we could even go deeper and look at the law of attraction, and that everything that we experience around us is a vibrational match to something within us, whether it be, again, a belief or an emotion that's calling it towards us, just as a reflection, just as an experience, so that we could learn and choose differently.
Okay, that's awesome. And I probably hope you never run into another skeptic, or maybe you do, because that'll open you up to another side of the conversation.
Yes, yeah, we must embrace all points of view.
Of
And any
course,
yeah, and anything that can help me expand, recognizing if there's a hole in my theories, or I need that.
of course, yeah. Because some people I know they're kind of skeptic into the coaching and things like that. But I always kind of tell them to look both ways and see and experience it. And so, what was I guess, the last time you were really surprised by either a client or in your life as a holistic coach?
Today was something very surprising, but not surprising at the same time. And I feel comfortable enough to get a little out there. I try to really read the people that I'm speaking to, and depending on their openness, I'll share or I'll not share certain things that have been in my experience. But I'm feeling comfortable today enough to share that I was speaking with someone today, someone that I went through a coaching program with just to catch up, and she's an amazing artist that sees beyond the five senses, or senses something beyond the five senses, that she then draws. She says, or she interprets it as rather than her just creatively thinking of something, that what's dropping into mine is channeled visualization. It's coming from someplace else. So that being said, we were speaking today, and she said to me that she saw a blue bird with a list in its mouth, and she noticed it in her mind's eye when I referred to time. And I was talking about a new project that I gave myself a timeline for. I'm giving myself deadlines, so it's starting to get more urgent. And it didn't connect for me, but she said on the list, far down the list was something crossed off, but things above that on the list weren't crossed off. And I was going for a walk with my dog, and I'm like, oh, that's probably saying that I'm not prioritizing the right things. The things on the top of my list should be priority. And that's practicing the songs that I'm about to record, rehearsing it with the people involved, getting ready for the show I have this Sunday. That's all priority, when the thing on the top of my list today was to organize the podcast that I've been on and put it on the website. Like, yeah, that's important, but not as important to the other thing. So again, I'm walking and I'm like, oh, that's telling me, this symbol, if you want to call it that, this signal is saying or asking, what are you prioritizing right now? What's at the top of your list? What's your one thing that is in alignment with your bigger goals? And it got me on track. I started laughing as soon as I realized that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go play my guitar.
So talking to her kind of led you into that kind of realization that, oh, there's this that I haven't thought about.
Yeah, it helped me realize that I wasn't prioritizing correctly, and even my energy was different. I didn't want to organize things for the website. I was like, I was feeling tired. I was like, oh, I think I need a nap before I do. Oh, I need to go for a walk. Oh, I need to eat
Right.
something. And I was avoiding it, but as soon as I realized, oh, I could practice, my energy amplified, and I wasn't tired anymore because it was in alignment with my bigger vision, with my deeper desire. And that's what I was talking about before. Everything in you is telling and showing and guiding. My lack of enthusiasm was telling me I didn't need to focus on that right now.
Of course. And you mentioned the five senses. What are they?
So seeing, tasting, touching,
Okay.
smelling, and hearing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then in that sixth sense realm is all those clairs, like the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the clair sentience. There's a few of them, but this expanded level of perception of things that other people can't quite sense as tangible.
Gotcha. So what's a commonly held belief about your role that you passionately disagree with?
So what's something about my role that I disagree with?
Yeah, something about, I guess, being a holistic coach that you really kind of passionately disagree with.
It might be, and this was an illusion that I bought into too before I was mentored myself, but that the coach is responsible for the outcome of a client. The I serve my role is to serve as a mirror for the people that I speak to, so they could become clear on what they want, who they want to be, what their thoughts are, whether or not they're true, and how it makes them feel, and how they want to feel. And I could give, different habit hacks. I could tell people, oh yeah, you could, do a task for 90 minutes and take a half hour break, and you could do that all day long. according to the circadian. I could give this fact-based knowledge to improve something, but unless I reflect back to someone something within themselves that helps them integrate, unless I guide them to lead themselves, the habits that they then choose aren't really going to be in alignment with them or of service to them. I can't just tell someone, meditate 3 times a day for 5 minutes and all your problems will be healed. It could definitely help, but until someone really becomes deliberate in the choices that they make, and they make them because of how it feels, how it sings to their spirit, or how how it makes them feel, and how it ties in with everything about them. They ultimately need to make those choices. So again, that maybe there's a misconception that the coach does, gives the client or gives anybody anything that isn't already inside of them.
Gotcha. So it's more like a guidance. So it's really like a guidance or like a push, similar to how sporting coaches are, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and it's a matter of creating an environment. So like when I work with people in a package, we call it a container, but I love to call it an environment because we set the stage for this person to get clear, to change their habits, to really look at themselves, to express their emotions, to really discern who they are and who they aren't and all these things. So it's within this creative space that me and whoever I'm working with allow these changes to be made. But it's within setting the stage. It's starting the session with the meditation. It's holding them accountable. It's sending them
Right.
a particular format to follow or template.
Okay. Awesome. And let me ask you a question. In this field, are you happy? Because I know a lot of people who they go into that field, they don't feel happy, and others absolutely happy. They're thrilled in their role. So, are you happy in your current position of being a holistic coach?
So I feel now more like a kid than I have felt since I was a kid.
Good answer. I love it.
So certainly joyous, certainly excited, certainly more free with this position, so much more time in my day, so much more malleability of every. It's so much more malleable and shapeable, if that's a word. Um, but however, I'm still recognizing room to expand even more, or I'm still recognizing that I needed to put music more at the forefront of what I do, for my music to be the coach and to be a guide and to be a mirror, or an inspiring healing vibration, whatever you want to call it. But after I went through my own mentorship, got certified as a coach, and became a coach, I was working as a coach and creating workshops where I would play some music and say, like, this is a song that I wrote about this story that has this lesson. But again, coaching was at the top and the music was secondary. I needed to create a shift where they're either exactly the same or the music's a little bit more, because the more that I've gone through these processes that I teach people or I guide people through, the more that I've healed myself, the more that I've got clear in myself and I've integrated all the parts of myself, the more music comes through me. And I think I would be a huge hypocrite to be a coach and to not let myself go all out as a musician at the same time. So I'm shifting, as we speak, I'm shifting into that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. Before we kind of end this, I know we're a short of time, and I would love to have you back again to go into detail of being a holistic coach and all that great aspects. What can you, I guess, leave the audience? Let's say I'm your new client. How would you start with being the process of coaching, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it always starts the same. What do you want? So let me ask you, with your podcast and with all the things that you're doing in your life, where do you want to be? What is your ideal?
To, I guess, to provide the right content for people to serve those that aren't able to access those information, specifically with the podcast, where back before I was in college or even high school, there were a lot of information, but there weren't any personal experiences or someone that was in the field to kind of say or give information. And so that's what started this whole podcast. And in life, it's just to be the better person I am yesterday.
Yes. I love that. And I love how easily that flowed through you to say. It was very clear to you. And now I want to ask, how do you imagine you would feel if you were creating amazing, insightful content that was inspiring people and opening new doors and enhancing your income and all things good were coming from it? How do you imagine you would feel?
Well, first of all, you are great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And well, second, I to answer your question, I will feel amazing, thrilled that I'm able to build something. I've always wanted to build something out of, I wouldn't say nothing, but kind of having a name to it and saying that I've done this thing, I've accomplished this, and that's probably what will make me happy.
So you imagine that this sense of so you would feel accomplished, and that sense of accomplishment would lead to a deep happiness.
I would say so.
So now I'm going to ask you if you could close your eyes and see yourself there now. You're totally aware from all the feedback you're getting that you've created something unique and special, and it's growing exponentially day by day, and it's everything you wanted it to be. And notice what that energy, what that emotion feels like in the body. Notice where you feel light, expansive, tingly, spacious, giddy. So notice in your body where you feel that. Breathe into it. And knowing that this is the vibrational frequency of the reality that you're trying to create or that you've already created, but is just still unfolding in the same way that a seed already has the intelligence within it to be the full blossomed flower. So the potential is already there. And now this frequency you're tuning into is the frequency of that potential reality. So just like a car radio, when you want to listen to 93.3 WMMR, that's relative to me. But when you want to tune into your specific station, the broadcast is happening everywhere, or relative to where it's being released, and you have to turn your dial in order to receive that station. As you tune into this frequency of happiness, of accomplishment, of contentment, wholeness, inspiration, all those good things, when you tune into that, you then open up the channel. You then open up the floodgates to begin receiving the vibrational match to this emotion. And everything that you do will be in alignment, when inspired from this place, will be in alignment with that future. And something I could ask you is, when have you felt this way before? And a certain memory might come to mind.
Um, when have I felt this before? Like the feeling of accomplishment or the feeling
Yeah.
of um I guess well back a few backstory. I migrated here when I was, I guess, 9 years old, and one of the
Wow.
biggest accomplishment for me was becoming a citizen. It was one of the greatest goals or the greatest accomplishment that I never thought I would have gotten. Going in, it was mind blowing. It was scary at first, but there was, to some extent, it all things went well, and I felt really good.
That's beautiful. Truly incredible. And I can't imagine the accomplishment of that feeling. I truly can't fathom it. And I love that you have that memory as a resource to tune into that frequency. So anytime you don't know what you're supposed to do next, or you're maybe confused, or just anything, you could always take a moment to tune into that memory to get back in the frequency of that accomplishment. And the last thing I'll ask you, what's one thing that you could either do today, or that you could, and maybe you've already done it, or that you could do this week, that is in alignment with this feeling and the goal and the ultimate goal?
I guess we'll just say stay the course. Um, Things I've done, I was trying to just get to where I wanted to go, or get to where I want to become, or who I want to become, and just getting. It's gonna sound cheesy, but getting better and better every day.
Yeah. So I
Um,
love how clear that is for you. I'm doing it. I'm in rhythm. Keep it going. I
right.
love it.
You're gonna get me hooked into all you. You are such an amazing holistic coach, I gotta say, and to be the first to experience this, and I think you are the first holistic coach I've ever gotten a chance to speak with, and so it's been an honor, and it's been a great experience the last couple minutes that we've taught, and it's opened my eyes to a lot of things, a lot of understandings, and I hope that's going to do the same thing for our audience and listeners. And I guess one last question would be, what would be your lessons learned being an holistic coach, or what have you seen?
To really just trust the process, um, to trust what you're feeling, to trust yourself, to surrender to everything that's happening inside of you and outside of you, and to use all that that's being given to you, that you're trusting, to create whatever the hell you want to create.
Of course. Well, thank you for that, and I would hope to get you back again, because it's been a thrill experience, and I hope you experience the same way. And I guess that's a wrap for us for the day. And if there's anything, please let us know. If you want to contact Eric, I'll make sure to provide you some of his contact details, his website, like I mentioned before, and also his social. And so you feel free to reach out to him, get to know him a little bit more. And so thank you so much, guys, for listening. And thank you, Eric, for joining me into the show. Whether you're listening or watching this YouTube podcast, it's been great. It's been thrilled. And we hope to see you at the next episode. See you guys.